Hello and welcome to the skating lesson. I'm Dave Lees,
And I'm Jonathan Byer.
and we're
Who are you?
And I'm Doug Ha, and I'm here with you boys to have a little chit chat tonight.
Yes,
Nice.
Doug, we are thrilled to welcome you back. You know, I still get comments of people debating your comments from the Olympics, so I hope you will have a lot of opinions and let us know all of what you think.
I sure will. I'm going to be like Taller Krantz, and he was a very outspoken commentator in Canada for a while before he got fired, and he used to say he dipped his tongue in acid before he went on the air, so I tried it tonight.
Okay. Well, we'll see what happens. Yeah, what could go wrong?
So this weekend was the long-anticipated debut of Evgenia Medvedeva with Brian Orser, and you were just working your camp with Brian Orser. So tell us, what do you know, Doug Ha? What have you heard about her training? What is the status?
Well, it's basically a love fest. Evgenia, and Brian definitely get along well. I watched right at ringside a whole training session for 1 hour. And so I saw Brian and Evgenia interspersed with each other quite intensely and with a very much of an amicable ambiance environment. And Brian was very, very supportive of her, and just the body language between the two of them. I didn't even have to hear any words. I just knew that it was a very positive and nurturing coaching pupil situation.
So I talked to Sandra a little bit about it. She said that Evgenia is much happier, but that she's like, don't worry about the early things. She's healing, from her time in Russia. So
well, exactly. Like when she was picking her music, like she started to cry. Apparently, Brian said, and Brian thought, what was the matter? Well, she never got to pick her music before. She was just told, "This is your music," and here it is. And after even the first day of training that they went on, that they actually had on the ice with the three of them, with Tracy Wilson as well, that Brian asked her, like, well, how did it go? And she started to cry. And Brian thought, well, what did we do wrong? She goes, no, nothing's wrong. It was just the best day of skating I've ever had. So,
oh, God.
Yeah. She just couldn't get over how positive the two of them were. And it just right away made a difference. And you can see her. I think her posture has improved because she used to be bent over a lot more. And I noticed that was the first thing I noticed at the rink. Besides, the obvious that she looks pleasant and like her eyebrows aren't like pinched together. So it was all the face was good, and then the body language was good, and then the obvious that she was not stooped over. I noticed that correction right away. So I thought, well, that's a lot of edge turn classes with Tracy and Brian.
So let's talk about the short program. I thought the short program was definitely the stronger program of the two. That's the one that Sandra consulted on. You could tell it had her little flourishes all over it. Sandra and David working together. They also worked on Javi's show program that was very successful. So they're clearly a very good team together with complementing each other.
Right. It's like I think Evgenia's short program has just so much sex appeal now, and it's got all those Sandraisms, where even right at the end where she's got the pose like this over her head, and there's some cute little hip hops that I know that's Sandra, because I've seen Sandra choreographed programs since her career began in like 1978. So. That's 40 years, I can tell you. I've seen it. And then I worked alongside her at the Granite Club all the time when she was there with Louis Stong, doing Underhill and Martini and Kate Thompson and that whole crowd. So I've seen it all from Sandra, and she's pretty special, but I definitely can recognize her work.
Yeah. I know she said that the opening is supposed to be...
She captures the energy. Go ahead.
Oh, pardon me.
I know that the opening is supposed to be very spectacular, but we haven't been able to see it because the camera was faced the other way that we got to see. So I know that that's supposed to be something they're going to work with her facial expressions on the other side. But yeah, I thought that the only question I have, Doug, is that do you think it's worth it to attempt the the triple Lutz in the short program rather than a triple loop points-wise because she's going to get negative GOE, in my opinion, because it is not a true Lutz. What's your opinion on this?
Okay, well, it's still not a true Lutz, as much as it's improved, but I guess, and I can't speak for Brian, but I can only try and think like Brian, and I'm thinking that she never got dinged before, so why would she get dinged now? And it's better. So, you know, she never got it. Like, she never even got an exclamation mark at it, I believe, you know, so I'm sure she's not going to get it now unless something changes, but she didn't get it before, so that's why I'm saying that he left it with the Lutz, because she never got a call, a negative call.
And this seems to be a thing sometimes when they slow down some of the Itiri skaters on that Lutz takeoff, and there's all this talk about pre-rotation this or loop takeoff that. What is your opinion on what they're doing that creates that?
Why she's going on an inside edge?
No, he's asking about the other Iteri students who all tend to pre-rotate a lot of their flip and Lutz jumps, that they kind of do them like their loops. If you watch like Trusova on her quad Lutz, she pre-rotates it a bit.
You mean when she places her pick in the ice, it's goes down on the blade?
So
yeah, really almost entire. And Medvedeva used to do that also, but it looks much better here.
Right. Well, that's a very Russian thing. You know, Plashenko, his flip and Lutz were all loops too. So I don't know if it's because technically, when you pick in for your Lutz, you're picking in on almost the outside edge of the toe picks. So when your feet come together, if you do it properly, and you want to create the most height, it's like your legs are bow-legged. So you think of somebody that was amazing springer like Midori Ito. She was bow-legged, and she had, of course, we know, powerful jumps for a lady. And even somebody like Tonya Harding, you could see her legs bow too on the takeoff. And so I think that when you circle back to some of these Russians, I think that it's almost like they're exaggerating the toe pick, and then of course the heel drops, and I think it creates a little more power, and it's obviously easier because you have more blade in contact with the ice, and they really have got away with it for years. So, you know, that's why I think that it's done.
Do you think the ISU will start to look for it with the callers, or maybe not, as long as they still have their vice president in power?
Exactly. I don't think they will. I don't think they will.
Is that just a school, or does it bother you, Doug?
No, it doesn't really bother me because they still have to land it. They still have to do it. Yeah. And I'd rather see. I almost like to see that outside, that bow-legged technique, because it produces a better jump.
Mm-hmm. Now, if she does get called, do you think Brian would change the Lutz to a loop? I mean, how stubborn is Mr. Orser? Do you think he would change the
I know he's very stubborn, but I think that I definitely see it's improving. So I think that maybe Brian's comeback would be that since she was under pressure, like usually when people are under pressure, you regress what I like to say is 30%. So maybe she regressed a little, because I think that the Lutz was better in the short than it was in the long. And even though the camera angle that we saw the long program was definitely further away, but you could definitely see the inside edge, because I looked back at it a few times to make sure. So, but I definitely think the Lutz is better in the short. She also, I think, faster in the short.
Now, did you see the photo of Iteri watching her? Because I was told that Iteri told her to go have babies after the Olympics, that she was done, and that was her future. But Iteri,
yeah, she was told she was done. That's what I was told for Brian, that she was done from Iteri. Mm-hmm. Yes.
But Iteri's body language, you could tell she was watching her like a hawk. You could see it in the short program. You could see it in the practice photos. It was quite something. Yeah.
The short program, it was, sorry to interrupt, Doug. The short programs, it was also so interesting that it was in this you know, this other kind of arena with that entire, like, just rink side of all the Russian coaches and officials just sitting there, like, just for everybody. I had to go watch the other faces, you know, during other skaters. But what an intimidating, non-inviting, unwarm kind of way in which to do a short program. And then I was intrigued why they moved to the bigger public arena for the free skate. I didn't realize, has that always been the case, Dave? I don't remember that.
Not every year, but this year, you know, they do different things. I mean, that's how Champs Camp is with the. I mean, maybe the people are not as intimidating as Ala and Tarasova and Moskvina sitting on the boards, but this year they did sell tickets to the free skate. I think they sold tickets to the short as well and then canceled it. But yeah, they.
Okay.
But also the arena was very like the walls were really close to the ice surface, so it also gives you a feeling of you don't have room to jump. You know, when you feel intimidated, you feel like the ceiling might be low. You feel the walls are coming in. Yeah, it's not a good feeling. You know, they definitely I think should have held it in the same venue. So.
And this is such a horrible, non-relevant thing, but I don't know if you noticed, you know, the ice for the free skate, they had huge logos for Durex condoms on both sides of the arena, just printed into the ice. And I was like, I'm sorry, does that say Durex at the end of the ice? And yes, that's apparently a big sponsor of the Russian test skating. So there you go.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why she's not having babies. I don't know. Maybe.
What did you think of the free skate? I don't find Libre Tango to be as interesting or as nuanced as the short program. I know it's still early and that they got a later start than maybe usual with her injuries and moving and everything. What did you? I know.
Well, Brian.
Yeah.
Sorry, Brian did say that she forgot the program. And she went the wrong way, and she got turned around, and so you know that definitely had a part of it. I thought that the middle section where she's going into the triple sow, triple toe, and then into the triple loop, I thought that's where she looked the most lost because it seemed void of any kind of transitions or field movements. What I mean, like a spiral, a Y stand, a spread eagle. It just seemed like, wow. So that's where, you know, I think that it definitely showed up that she forgot the program.
Well, I'm glad you said that because in seeing some of these Russian test skates in particular, I was intrigued by the arc that some programs did have and the lack of arc in other programs. And I thought the short was so well crafted and it had this like breezy vibe to it, this like Katerina 84 kind of vibe. And I loved that when she did the one, the free leg just coming up as she did it so correctly. It was almost like tongue in cheek to be like, this is how you should do this kind of move. But then when we got to the free, it seemed unfocused to me. It seemed like it had a bit of like artistic ADD, but I suppose if you're forgetting the program, that's how that would read.
Right.
So we'll see. The music for me also was just a bit more one-dimensional throughout. So that also was, but I'll be intrigued to see it in its next version. So
right.
I don't love David's tango edits. I didn't love Yuna's Adios No Nino either. I don't know if this is becoming a trend, but I don't know who he edits his music with. So, just
usually it's Hugo Chouinard.
Yeah,
that does all the music. So
maybe it's Hugo doesn't give us the sweeping parts of the tango that we're craving. But
although I did notice that in the later part of the program that the crowd was clapping, you know, to the beat and trying to be a little more engaging with her. So, you know, so to me, it sounded that the program was building.
I think the most important thing is that Tarasova loves the short, and apparently she yelled across the rink on the first day that it's beautiful, and she was in all of the photos with Medvedeva, and apparently some of the Russian fans are still very uncomfortable with her being coached by a non-Russian, so the whole situation is a little tense.
Yeah, Brian's not home until tomorrow, but I cannot wait for like a normal phone call to him.
Yes.
So I can really.
So what did you think about the reigning Olympic champion, Alina Zagitova? To me, I noticed the biggest difference in the short program between Medvedeva and Zagitova, I noticed just that I thought that the Phantom of the Opera program was garbage. I just really thought it was hot garbage, just devoid of any point of view. I thought that it was just, I mean, clearly everything that we've thought about at Terry's camp, forcing it on a skater. I thought that she looked trained, robotic. She missed all the highlights of the music. There's an Ina Bauer choreographed in that she completely just skates
the
through.
Ina Bauer was the most offensive miss of the program.
Plus, the other thing is, to me, the biggest faux pas in it was she has too many stops. A short program, to me, should be go, go, go. Show your stuff, show the elements strong, especially you're the Olympic champion, and she just kind of did an element and stopped and posed, and then did an element, stopped and posed, stops too many times in her footwork, and I thought, there's no, you're not showing any kind of improvement in your skating skills, and she definitely has grown because she looked so tall, I couldn't believe it. But, like I say, and she's still bent over, because she really breaks. You can see on the landing of the Lutz to the loop takeoff, she's really, really over, and you see it, and it got caught in her long program because she did the triple Lutz and she could only do the single loop. Because as I say, she landed the Lutz and did a U-turn on the edge, and she couldn't, it was like a dog chasing his tail. She couldn't catch her center, her sense of gravity over her foot to spring up. So that's why she popped. But it's because, her hips were too far ahead of her.
Mm-hmm. I think they will be the top two in the world this year, and it'll be interesting to watch their competitiveness and how it, plays out. But I really think that it's interesting because no skater has ever left a Terry and then done well. But if Medvedeva does perform successfully this year, it kind of shows the other skaters that there is, another option if they...
Life after Etiri. Yeah, exactly. The other thing is, Dave, do you remember last year when we were talking about Music of the Night not ending for Max Aaron, where we said do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti? Mm-hmm. She does it too in the short program. She just stops the music. It's not at a stopping point. It's not at a tonal stopping point. It's not at a phrasal or cadential ending point. It's just full-blown. They just lift the needle off the record. And it's I guess we're done with the music mid-sentence. It was really an unfortunate moment. But
yeah. And then again, sorry, go ahead.
No, I
just wanted to say the Olympic champion to me is more deserving of Phantom of the Opera, so used. She's, you could do so much with other music with her, and it to me that's sabotaging her almost. It
was a choice for a skater with greater limitations than Zagitova has. So she could have done something so much better, and she responds to the quality music. She responded to that long program last year. Both seasons she did it, but this year, then with the Carmen, it was a mediocre thing, and it was very frantic, which of course Carmen is seductive and full of intention, and it just missed the mark on her repertoire this year, which is too bad for her, because she also seems to be grappling with different technical issues than she's been in the past.
Well, she's grown so much, so whenever you grow, all your takeoff angles change, and so she's got to almost relearn the jumps again.
Yeah.
And the one thing, though, both ladies said their spins were a little bit slow. Mm-hmm. That was definitely, you could see that, which was not encouraging at all.
Yeah. Do you think that's just because the season is early and they need more run-throughs to focus on that? Why do you think the spins are slow?
I just think they're not practiced enough, to be honest. And because spinning is an acquired skill. Jumping you can take from God, and if you don't have the jumping being, it's not going to happen. But anybody can spin, and all you have to do is spend 20 minutes a day on your spins, and you can definitely improve. Because it's like I say, it's an acquired skill. So they just have to practice more. Now,
do you think Lambiel has a natural aptitude for spinning, or did he just work on it more?
I think he worked on it more too.
Okay.
all those Swiss skaters that were great spinners, it's because they all skated on open sessions, and then once they couldn't jump anymore or the ice got too crowded, they just spun, you know, and they got good because of practice.
Yeah. Interesting. I did hear a note from the Russians, from one of the people who translate their articles, and they apparently there's something that Medvedeva had wanted to skate to some of those pieces of music that Zagitova is using, so it was kind of an Eteri signal to her that that she wanted to use either one or the other. So that's interesting. But what did you think about Elena Rodionova? Because for so long, she was obviously a big personality in the sport, and I'm really confused why she's continuing at this point. And I wanted to ask you what you saw technically done.
Well, I just see her just deteriorating in her skills at every aspect of her skating. So I haven't really not too much to say. I just can't believe how much she's gone down.
Now, but do you think she really had those skills at some point, or was she able to kind of eke them out in spite of her lack of skills, and now it's just caught up? Or do you think there was an ability and it has decreased?
No, I like when you said she eked it out, because she definitely eked it out in Boston at the Boston World Championships, because I was there, I saw it live.
Right.
And she was definitely lucky. It was like the fans were all on in the rink at the right time when she took off and landed, because she was carried through those jumps, and she was so lucky because she had a lot of lean on a lot of jumps, and saved by a big wide free leg to counterbalance her posture. And I just think now that she's, 3 years older, and she just doesn't have the same lightness that she, and the youthfulness to save them.
What I do notice is that she jumps like this when she's in the air. The shoulders are at the ears, and it's always been like that. But she has completely lost her lutz. You can see that there's just no confidence on it.
Right. The person that was good in her long program was Elizabeth, oh my God, the world champion.
Tuktamisheva.
Yeah.
With the triple axel, she did the two lovely lutzes. She did
now she doesn't do that Russian much like we were talking about, like the Eteri girls do. Like, I have always enjoyed her lutz technique. Do you agree that her lutz technique is pure?
It's perfect. It's because first of all, she's got that where she's gliding in a straight line, and then she's got that lovely curve. It's almost like she's gliding, and then she pulls that curve about 45 degrees from the vertical. Mm-hmm. So she really gets, at the end, a big wind up in the opposite, like a counter rotation in the other direction, and then she's able to release it once her pick goes in, and it's technically brilliant. But I think that Mishin is the best technician in the world in jumping.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate to me that she was you could tell that she was kind of trained like a boy. I mean, there is absolutely no grace. There's no style in the skating. It's never been emphasized, and it's unfortunately.
Plus, to me too, it's like, she definitely is on the less waif-like look. Mm-hmm. And if I was that good and could do a triple axel, I would definitely drop 8 to 10 pounds if I was her, because her component scores would go right up because she just wouldn't look so heavy on the ice.
She lumbers around
and
the ice.
It sounds, to the layman's ears, that sounds like an aggressive statement. But you have found in your experience that kind of aesthetic change really does change the judges' assessment of PCS and things like that.
Totally.
Okay.
Look at that. Pardon me?
Just because.
Exactly. It is. That's our sport. It's like I know we haven't gone to the Junior Grand Prix yet, but the American dance team.
Incredible.
They're beautiful, but look at their two bodies. They're absolutely perfect. Mm-hmm. I mean, his body, her body. They like. I told you earlier today, Dave. That's like they have lean, they have lilt. They're just lovely, and they have huge potential. And to me, it's like they look like Barbie and Ken on the ice. They're perfection.
Yeah.
And when you look at, like in some, like when we get to them, these junior girls, they in the junior Grand Prix, these other Russians are absolutely, their bodies are beautiful. Mm-hmm. They don't look weak. No. The new ones.
Now, what'd you think about?
It's interesting to me. Oh, sorry, Dave. It's interesting just this concept in general to me, because I'm used to my girls like Midori and Tanya that come out, and Elizaveta. It's easy for me to understand her technical ability based on the power of the body. So then when I see someone like Trusova or something do a quad lutz or something, it's confusing to me because it's so light. Even like Mao's triple axel compared to some of these others, like, I don't know, there's something for me about the aesthetic of like a serious like powerhouse girl coming out.
Caitlin Osborne. Like
yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I kind of prefer that aesthetic jumping-wise, I think, than these others.
Right. Like at the end of the day, to me, a woman beats a girl. Like so a woman, with a woman's body, beats some little waif like that looks like they have an eating disorder. And you look at other people like Yuna Kim too. She had the perfect body too. So.
And you look, Medvedeva is she is eating more, and you could tell that even though, she has gained weight, it's all good. It's all good muscle that she's gaining, and it's.
She looks really healthy.
Yeah.
And when you look at, to me, when I look at athletes, when I get up close, I can see they have a texture to their skin that looks, and Yevgenia looks really healthy, really healthy. And just the way when I was introduced to her too, and how pleasant she was, and just tilting her head and just being kind of warm, and she knew. I guess Brian had told her that you're going to meet one of my best friends today, and she just was just her greeting, and then just like I say, her composure was really positive.
Now, what do you think about Surskaya? Because Surskaya she's clearly one of the most talented Russian girls. She has some of the biggest jumps, and you notice she can do a triple lutz, triple toe in the free skate that is just enormous and just gorgeous, and then she could do the same triple lutz in the short program and completely wipe out on it, and it's been the story of her career. It's why she hadn't, made the Olympic team, because she is so inconsistent, even though she's a million times, more talented than Sotskova. What do you think of that? Is it just in her technique, or is it the mental? What's going on?
No, I think definitely she's a better technical skater. Mm-hmm. So, but she looks untrained. Mm-hmm. She looks like that long program look, because all the mistakes were in the second half, and the double lutz. Can't remember other things, but the bottom line is that she just looked untrained. So she just needs more mileage on her programs. But she definitely has more speed than all the girls. Mm-hmm. I thought she had the most.
I am Team Paulina, and Dave, I loved it when, what did you call it, the dark horse for this year, because even last year I was wondering, at the beginning of the Grand Prix, it looked like she might have been able to sneak in for that third spot, maybe over Maria, and there's something very exciting about Paulina's skating to me. But then that inconsistency plagued her at her second Grand Prix, and she basically took herself out of the race. But she's one that always has excited me. She has a better double axel than a lot of the girls from Russia, and I just really enjoy her every time she goes out. So I hope she can kind of hone it and kind of be more of a factor this season.
The only thing she did that is unforgivable to me is that she held up her leg on the spiral, and she did it with a bent leg. And if you're going to hold up the spiral, that thing needs to be stretched, honey. That needs to be gorgeous. So
Nancy Kerrigan. We used to say Nancy Carrier leg.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
What do you think about Sotskova? They try and make her interesting. It's kind of, she has the Tarasova and Morozov syndrome, where she's just not an interesting personality, perhaps, on the ice, or not emotive, or something just does not work. No matter what you do, she is boring as sin. What is the problem, Doug?
I think you just nailed it. She's just boring as sin. There's I don't know what else to say, because I totally agree with you, and everything I would say is would not be on the positive side. So I will leave it as that.
Okay, I have often been known to give Maria the benefit of the doubt because I feel like she seems like she'd be fun to go have a coffee with. So what I think actually is they really tried. I mean, you think like we are obviously not the only people that must think this. She's even spoken about this criticism about her. And I thought that with the music, the Santana and with the Big Spender or whatever, I saw her making a conscious effort. Like, I think that she's probably at a loss, and she knows that this intangible thing is missing. So I felt her really chasing it. I thought she was skating a little faster. She was giving a little more pizzazz to certain positions in the short program, especially the summertime for me with the Miss. But in the short program, I saw a notable effort in trying to be more engaged, trying to be more energetic. But inevitably, there's a disconnect because it doesn't seem as honest. It seems like she's trying to show us energy and excitement instead of exuding it authentically, maybe. But I appreciated the effort because I think she was trying.
She has the nicest spiral, and she has lovely flow and knee bend. And it's almost like a Russian combination of Mao. Like she has more knee bend and flow over the ice, but it's just, she does a flying spin. She doesn't extend her leg ever. I mean, she needs to use that extension completely and all the time, but it's just, look, you're never going to make Brady Tennell interesting, and I don't know if they can make Maria interesting either. It's just kind of one of those things.
Well, they're trying. So the question was, do you try with the question to you guys is, do you think that a short program like this is a step in the right direction, or it's making it a bit more apparent that that's not a fit and she should just do like a general malaise of generic, lovely classical music?
No, I definitely think it was a step in the right direction. Yeah. And I think that this is the last kick at the can. They've tried everything, so this is definitely what I believe that is the rationale behind the music.
Yeah.
What do you think about Tarasov and Morozov? Obviously, they're supposed to be the number one pair in the world with Sway and Han sitting the Grand Prix out. That short program was such a disaster. Just musically, everything about it. This is just a team that has been plagued by bad music choice after bad music choice. Aesthetically, they look like they should be the next team in the world. Is it just they're inherently a mess?
Well, I don't like when you look at all these people, all these skaters and their music selections. To me, it's like when they first select music, it should go to a national a person in charge, the technical director, whoever, and maybe 2 or 3 other world judges, and they should all approve of this music before they even choreographed to it, because these people should think, does this music suit this skater, or can this work? Because to me, the music choice is so important, and when people have bad music, it's like you don't want to watch. And then you're on the critical side from the get-go instead of looking at them thinking, okay, the glass is half full. Now to me it's half empty. Once I heard Phantom of the Opera,
and then
and I was like, really? And I kept going, like, how could they do this to this girl? She's the Olympic champion. So, when it comes back, so this whole music issue needs to be addressed more by the federations before they let these elite skaters get the choreography done.
And it seems, in my opinion, very reactive. Like, the free skate to me is, okay, they see like the French doing well in this kind of like emo-y music, and then along comes Aliona and Bruno, and they were kind of in this new agey, angsty music. So then I think it's an approach that misses the mark. I think they're like, oh, we see that this style is going over well, so we'll just do that. But I think why it worked for Aliona and Bruno and why it worked for the French is because it actually was well suited to them specifically. It's not the music or the mood, it's how it fits the skaters. So again, I don't understand their opposition to just letting them go completely legit Russian warhorse classic music that they emoted so well in the past. That was always their finest work for me, was in that genre. I don't know why they're so opposed to it, especially in a season when it seems like a lot of the pairs Actually, it's more out of the box to kind of swing back to a more nostalgic, classical kind of thing than just another soft rock, emo kind of piece.
Well, the other thing is, too, this is obviously the beginning of a new quadrennial. So as a coach, you try to figure out, the ultimate goal is to peak at the next Olympics. So maybe some of them are trying out music that they're hoping will suit them, or they'll get the right response or the right skating performance from this piece of music. So that's, one thing I could say in defense of some of these, what appear to the three of us as very bad music selections. But you have to think, this is, they got to figure out what's going to be at the Olympics. So,
right.
I think their consistency is also a big question mark for me, because they have the most beautiful, split triple twist. I wrote +5 down. I thought that it was just stunning. But in both programs, they missed the jumps. It was her, it was him. It's just, their programs have often seemed to lack focus, throughout.
And always stay in a different, they're always messing up in a totally different way on those side-by-side jumps. I mean, it's like, she'll double it, he'll double it. He'll fall, she'll fall. He'll pop, she'll pop. I mean, it's just never, I don't understand the issue. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem to be one particular thing. And their first throw in the free especially was pretty exciting, but then they had a rougher second throw. But
yeah, it'd be interesting to see if Moskvina figured them out psychologically, what's going on, because I think they would probably win. But I think the Chinese will have, as long as they're healthy, will have a pretty easy time to defeat them once they go in. Because
I agree.
Yeah.
But Moskvina will figure something out. She's great at how to work the two bodies and the two personalities together and to make it work.
But what is Moskvina's involvement with them? Just
she
at
seems
this juncture?
to be.
Just generic advice?
I think generic advice. Yeah. She looked like to be in a Tarasova role there. If you notice, for some of the programs, they were sitting next to one another, like two pigeons.
All the grandmothers, the grandmothers of Russian skating.
Yeah. Now, did you... Sinitsina and Katsalapov, they're trying, again, they're kicking the can down the road. They gave them air on a G-string by Bach, and it's so interesting because she looks better. She finally looks stronger skating skills-wise, and he continues to look checked out. Nikita, throughout the performance, he lost a lot of gas in the second half. And again, it looks better, and yet, it's never going to be enough in this team. They have kicked this can down the road as far as they can, but
I think Bukin is the dance team of the Russian future. I think they'll win this year.
Okay. Yeah. Also, Popova and Mozgov looked better as well. They're with Krylova, and they looked somewhat stronger. The music was very heavy, very Russian. The costumes were going back into we went through a shredder route, to have that wind kind of aesthetic that they love in Russia. But it just, to me, the aesthetic looks a little bit dated. It looks like they've moved to more contemporary dance world, and that they looked a little bit old-fashioned to me, in a way. So it'd be interesting. What'd you think of the men, Doug? Did you see Kolyada?
I just saw Kolyada, and to me, what he just looks so finished now. His sense of personal space, he was using his whole personal space, meaning his arms and free legs were stretched. His focus was up. It was if he ever got his act together, he should be the world champion.
Yeah. I said that, he had, I wrote that he had better stretch than all of the ladies, better extension throughout. The spins were nicer. It was just, actually, I didn't mind his Carmen, because even though it wasn't mind-blowing choreography, it wasn't innovative, he hit every beat of music, so I didn't mind it.
Yeah, I thought it was a very traditional quality look at a classic kind of male Carmen program. Of course, for me, it was driving me there. I understand it's tricky, of course, with the time element, so they were kept looping in the same track over and over to buy more time with the music. So it got a bit redundant for me by the end. But Doug, it's what you're talking about. It was this ownership of the three dimensions and his space and taking up more room and really projecting from here. It was really, really nice to see. And we've had discussions. Varying people have different opinions on his skating skills, but I've always thought he skated big, he skated sweeping. Like, I always thought the skating skills were there.
Totally there.
And I think it makes for a nice moment. Although, Dave, I will tell you my favorite amount of stretch and elegance came from my boy, Dmitry Aliev, who the two programs I fell on the floor because, and it may not be a popular sentiment, and I don't care, but I was completely over the moon. I mean, he had a lot of technical, he was falling on a lot of things, but nothing that seemed overly alarming at this juncture in the season. But for me, his two programs were like home runs, and I am here for it and want to see him at every Grand Prix, and I'm just obsessed. Every move of the hand, it was just dripping in elegance that see, you're making a face, so bring it, Dave. Because each time I saw him move his opening arms, I really responded to it, but I know it's not a popular sentiment. There's camps on this.
Well, first of all, I hated the screechy violin music.
I didn't mind it.
The landed quads were under-rotated, the sow and the toe. I really thought that if Kolyada just stopped popping and you put him, whatever is changing in his training, Kolyada, I really think that he will be the more successful one in the long run. But I think that Aliev is a strong skater, but I don't know. I didn't share that same.
Oh, I think Kolyada for sure is the finer skater and for sure set up to do much better internationally. Just as like a guilty pleasure, like there was something beautiful and artistically earnest to me about Aliev. Both of his programs, I see great potential in them if he's able to clean up all the technical stuff. And we've seen him kind of up and down. He struggles so much with injury and training and these kinds of things. So we'll see.
Doug, if you were Russia, would you send Kolyada back to Rafael for more time? I mean, he spent time with him over the summer. While Nathan's away, would you put him with Rafael and spend the money? I guess what's your opinion there?
Yeah, yes, I would, because I do believe in Rafael, his technique, and I do believe that it would definitely be something Rafael would try to prove too, that he can teach this boy, because let's face it, he obviously thinks I'm assuming he's earned, with producing Nathan the way he has, he's earned the right to be a little braggadocious, and I would think that he will also he's got a new level of coaching confidence that he could instill some really excellent technique in Kolyada to make him great.
Yeah.
So
but this kind of the improvement in the deportment that you're talking about that's so noticeable, that's not necessarily something I associate with Rafael.
No, that's him. Who knows what's going on in his personal life, but it's obviously good, because he to me, you have to, if you skate with that much confidence, you have to be a pretty happy person, to be able to project that. If you're, mourning or you're insecure, you can't skate like that. And to me, it's like he must feel like a real He-Man to be able to do that, because it's amazing, and this is what we want to see. And then, but maybe he's also thinking he looks at Yuzu, and he's looking at Javi, and just seeing how much they project, and thinking maybe I need to look at my competitors, see what they have that I don't have, and what to make me more successful. And to me, somebody told him something and said, look at the trends that are being set in men's skating. So maybe you need to look at their skating, and this is what they're projecting. So therefore, I think maybe that's why he made the improvement. Because you gotta keep up with the Joneses.
And he has a world medal. I mean, he probably is feeling more confident. So, do you think Javi will go through with competing at Europeans, knowing Javi pretty well? Because I thought that Kolyada, Aliev, I think it's going to be difficult for Javi to kind of be half in, show skating, half in. I know he's getting ready for, a couple shows in Spain that, Sandra and David are working on.
I just thought that that comment about Europeans was just like him being charming and cute. But there was a faction of people that really took that very seriously, like he was really going to do that. But I just assumed, for the reasons you mentioned, that I thought he was just being cute.
No, he told me 2 weeks ago that he does plan to compete at Europeans. It's just I don't know if he's figured out, what programs he's going to use or do, and then it's like, when are you going to train them? And I'm not so sure he's given all that a lot of thought.
Yeah.
So my guess now is I can't see him being there. But because he also has a lot of, he's very popular in Spain. So he's kind of the Tiger Woods of Spain, between him and Rafael Nadal. So, it would be hard for him. And I don't know how you would have the mindset just to compete at Europeans, and that would be the end of your season, when normally you're going to Worlds. So I don't know how you could plan to peak at Europeans to win a 7th title and then say sayonara, I don't know how you, as an athlete who's done this for, 15 years or whatever, how many years has he been? 10 years at Worlds at least, whatever. I don't know how you could peak at Europeans after you never peaked there before.
Well, I know Amodio did that once, and I know the European skaters tend to have a reverence for especially from the smaller countries, they have a reverence for the European Championships, but I don't know, maybe if he's okay with going and getting a bronze, I think he would have to be okay with that before he went, because I think Kolyada looks like he could mean business. I mean, he did a triple Lutz that looked like it's meant to be a quad, so I think
for sure.
I think just men's skating continues to move forward, and if he's doing shows, I think it's going to be hard. I also think Weaver and Poje, I think it's going to be hard for them to get back into competitive skating, because even if they train on tour, you're still in a tour mindset for so long. It's very easy to fall out of your discipline, especially if you're on a bus with everyone else who's staying up at night. So I think...
Totally agree. I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how and that's not just them to pick on them. It's just I don't know how any skater could go from performing, especially taking off 6 months, and then try to jump into it at the Nationals, and then go to 4 continents, and then Worlds, and then you have to create a buzz, and the whole plan of doing the Grand Prix and fall competitions is to get the judges to buy into your programs and stuff, and I just don't know how there's no marketing available to them when they're not doing the Grand Prix. How can you market yourself?
Even when Michelle Kwan tried it, that's the year that she got sick at Worlds and then lost that extra, fitness and lost to Bucherskaya, which she had blocked out, that ever happened.
Yeah.
So you...
that was like
99.
Wasn't that 98 or 99? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that we went from 97, Tara Lipinski was the youngest world champion, and then Maria Bucherskaya the next year was the oldest world champion.
The oldest with the stiffest knees, and it looked at.
But yet,
I've
seen Maria Bucherskaya on a dance floor, and you would never know that she's the same person. Yeah. She's incredible. So it's like
keep going. Yeah, we want the full story, Doug.
She was out. She was in Toronto, and she. I'm trying to remember why she was there. It was some tour, and anyway, she had come out with a bunch of skaters and coaches, and she was dancing up a storm, and I was like kind of looking like where the electrical cord was coming out of her pant leg into the wall, because I couldn't believe she could dance like that.
Yeah, amazing.
It's interesting
again, just to finish off of that, I've also been out with Angelika Krylova, and she's the same way. She's an incredible dancer.
But I would have expected.
Right. Yes. But I guess my point is that these Russian ladies really know how to move, especially in the right setting. But back to Maria, yes, she was the stiffest, unbelievable. Like how she didn't have more knee injuries, hip injuries, because all that jarring through the joints, that vibration, would just continue up through her body, and all the strain on all that fascia and connective tissue around those joints that she would lock. It's incredible. She's not in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the Junior Grand Prix, Doug. I know that you've seen Andrew Torgashev skate for many years, or at least recently in Florida before he moved to Colorado Springs. And I wanted to ask you about his triple axel in particular. We saw him win the gold here. And he was lucky because, as you pointed out before we started, you said that his score would have been 4th place last week and 3rd place the week before. And this was definitely a weaker field. He had a complete wipeout on that triple axel, and it's a strange technique that Christy Kroll employs with her skaters, where they do lean back on the edge. You know, we saw it with Liam Fierce. It wasn't very successful there. It looks very unorthodox with Andrew. What's your take on his triple axel technique?
Well, it is a longer back edge that I don't think. Again, you got to compare. Like, you got to look at the other triple axels that are being skated, and all the other triple axels being skated are all on smaller curves. You see these boys do, like, you know, the most common ones. They do an inside rocker, and then they're on a back inside to outside change of edge. So they're on a smaller curve, so they can push out of the circle to get that bold outside edge that makes the jump so successful. And to me, when you're on the back edge leaning back like that and you're waiting so long, to me it's almost like you're giving them time to think of negative thoughts, and like you go from thinking of the process of what you're supposed to do to you think of the outcome and like, oh my God, I gotta land this. So to me, there's the psychological disadvantage of a long back outside edge, and then to me, it's a technical thing too, because it should be a sharper curve in order to push out stronger. So I might look, if I was Andrew, I might look at what everybody else is doing and think maybe I need to change. I don't know.
Is he someone who trains his long?
The combo in the short was like that almost. Also, just in general, his access just seems to be a little goofy for me. I'm sure it was a very nervy kind of jumping performance from him.
Right. Well, he's also not like a skinny little guy either. He's a man, and as much as he might have some issues with some of these jumps, he has the most command of edges and performance, and he's 100% masculine. He's like the epitome of men skating on the ice, and he's good looking. He just has to have it all. But I definitely think for me, having just watched Andrew over the last year in the rink, and then just to see him skate the other day, this is the first time I think I've ever seen him do a run through where he didn't do not one pop. So that is huge for him. So to me, when I saw the fist pumping at the end of his program, I
was confused at first. Yeah.
I just went like, oh my gosh, like, Andrew, you had quite a few stumbles there. And then I thought, why would he do that? And then I thought to myself, you know what? He rotated everything. So that was a huge mental gain, a victory for him. And I think that, again, it's really important for him in his development to show improvement. And to rotate, I know as a coach, when they have an issue of popping, it's the worst. It's like so hard to get them to believe in themselves and to have that confidence. So to me, it was a ginormous step for Andrew, and I'm so proud of him. I'm so happy for him, and I'm so glad that he pulled in, he turned everything, but he also, that is going to be like his MasterCard moment that's priceless. I think that what he'll gain, the confidence he'll gain, it will be ginormous for his headspace.
Well, what do you know about this training center that's going on at the World Arena? Because does Christy work with Tom Z? I know Tom Z and Tammy are working together, because I think he may need to look at the other half of the rink, because Camden has a beautiful triple axel. And
Tom could help that. Yeah.
To me, Vincent is already injured, and he's waffling, great one day, awful the next. And I see more long-term potential in Torgashev, in Andrew, and I wonder, he has everything, as you said. He has such a masculine look on the ice. He also performs rather nicely for a heterosexual male, which is, more unusual. And I think he really, has a lot going for him. That triple axel looks like Scott Davis, in the second half in Lillehammer. It really has it looks dated.
Well, I don't know. Let's see what happens with this newfound confidence. Like, let's see what happens. And again, I think Christy Kroll is a smart woman. I think she's always videotaping everything, and she's always analyzing. So I think something good will come out of this. I think he'll get better.
I'm just curious about if maybe we could just bring Tom in for the triple axel, and Tom can get the credit and be happy. Apparently he has 4 Korean girls who all have triple axels. It's amazing. I wanted to ask you about the ladies because it seems like this World Arena is really helping all of the Koreans in other countries, have such success on the Junior Grand Prix, and the American ladies are just a disaster. I mean, is this something you see?
I had to scroll down and down to even find in the placements who the American was there. I mean,
Doug, what is the problem with the American ladies? I mean, at one point we used to laugh at the Canadian ladies, but the U.S. ladies can't seem to,
Yeah, the Canadian track record is much better than ours at this juncture.
Well, I would have to say that, what I find with American ladies in particular is I don't know how much they're letting the coach do the coaching. And I think that sometimes these parents, try to, navigate their skating careers, and they don't have the skill set to do it. And you look at some of these kids, and they're coach hopping. So they never really, because the mother's always looking for the coach with the magic wand, and they're not staying for the long process to take place. So, I see it happening right, in my own stable of skaters, where I had a little girl, with a juvenile lady lands a clean triple Salchow, and she gets a level 2 layback, and the mother's like, "Oh, we need more technical help." And I'm trying to explain to the mother how she didn't get the call on the dip on illusion, because now the ISU has ruled it has to be a greater dip, and then they lose. They just think that they have to get more help all the time. And I think that you look at all these American ladies, and they've all had multiple coaches, where some of these Korean girls, I think they've probably been in Korea and been developed with their one coach at their rink and done their consistent over the years, and they get to a place like the World Arena. They get motivated because they're with all these good skaters, and yes, they're getting good coaching, but they've got that groundwork where they really trust the coach and listen to the coach. And I think that's a big issue in America.
So that other skaters are trusting the process and the journey a little bit more, and the American parents are after more immediate gratification.
Right. And you look at it's like, if Tom Z and Tammy can coach all these Korean girls successfully, why don't they have the same success with American girls?
Well, there were reports when Karen Chen was in Chicago that her mom was trying to coach her off the ice as well, even though they were there with Rashev. So you see, it's
a disease here.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's interesting because seems to be the downfall. But you look at...
And it seems to be a North American disease. Would you say this happens in Canada also? We've heard about, certain skaters from Canada having
Nam Nguyen's
parents,
dad, as well.
Well, yeah, exactly. So I didn't know because, the Russian Federation and those coaches have such a stronghold on the process, but I don't know what it might be like in Japan or, some of these other big skating powerhouse countries.
Well, again, in Japan, too, your coach is treated with so much respect. And in North America, you're just like a commodity on the stock market. You're bought or sold at
you're the staff. Yeah, you're the staff. Okay.
Yeah, I heard a story lately that Mia Hamada, threatened a parent that she would drop the student because the parent was getting American about it. So.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
When parents are wanting you to text them every night to say exactly how they trained during the day, it's like you shouldn't have to do that. Just like wait and watch your child skate and go. And especially nowadays when you have score sheets, so you just have to go from competition to competition and see what your scores are. You can monitor your success easily or your decline easily by a score sheet. So I think that the parents, they need to trust the coaches more and let them do their job.
Now I wanted to ask you about Yelim Kim. and I probably butchered her name, and I apologize. It's the first time I've paid close attention to her. She's a beautiful...
Ms. Kim.
Yeah, she has a beautiful, she's a beautiful flow over the ice and a beautiful kind of lilting quality. But the one thing is I noticed that on her jumps, she has a very distracting Brady Tennell arm syndrome where the arms are like chicken wings, and even they're bent when she tries to do the ripon where the elbows are constantly bent and they're like here on the jumps. Is that going to hurt her? What's going on with that, Doug, in your opinion?
Well, to be honest, I only saw her once, and but to me, it's like if she can do that well with those bent arms, just think how well she can do once they get a little more organized. And obviously, she hasn't done these triples that long because they're all clean, and she's like, and that's huge. If you can manufacture the jump without really pulling in tightly, that's an asset. So it's just really aesthetically that it doesn't look good. And I think it'll come. I mean, how old is she? 14? I don't know.
Yeah, I think the most promising thing is that we've seen about 4 different Korean ladies who are all very, very strong this season. From Ensu, 3 at least on the Junior Grand Prix every week. They're clearly having depth. And I think that they're about to have success like Japan and Russia do to an extent because the competition is there. So I think they're clearly on the rise. And I anticipate that it'll be kind of a 3-horse race, between Russia, Japan, and
Korea.
Yeah, I think that it's clearly that's the direction it's going. I think that's probably good for the sport because Korea got behind Yuna so much, and I think Ensu has a similar charisma. Obviously, Yuna's coaches had that girl from last week that we were raving about who had very similar technique. Mm-hmm. So,
and I also think those countries are doing way more off ice too. Mm-hmm. And I don't think they're skating as much on ice. Like 3 hours is probably maximum, but I think those little bodies are very strong, very strong. So that's what if I had to make an educated, guess at what it is, I bet they're doing more off ice training, and they're also monitoring, when they do have like what I would call a hot spot where something like my knee feels a bit sore. I'm sure they're going lighter the next day or something. Whereas an American parent might say, no, do your run through, do this, work through your air, no pain, no gain. Whereas I think that the health is monitored. The health of the athlete is monitored much more. There's more scrutiny for those Japan and Korean athletes.
Now, what do you notice with Hanyu? I mean, how many hours is he skating a day? I mean, obviously at this point he's done his 10,000 hours of training. He is so proficient. Is he able to do more focused practices? I mean, how many hours a day is he on the ice at the cricket club?
I'd probably say 2.5. But I don't know for sure. But I'm just thinking there's 2 high-level free skates, and then like he does edge turn class, and they all do it. Like it's you see the edge turn class, and it's like you see Konrad Orzel, you see Steven Gogolev, you see Evgenia Medvedeva, you see Yuzu, you see Gabby Daleman, and it's pretty amazing. Because they're all trying to look more elegant than the other one and command more attention than the other. So it's a class like a ballet teacher or a movement coach would just be like a double clutch of their pearls when they watch the class because it's just beautiful.
Mm. Well, let's talk about the woman of the hour, Alexandra Trusova from Eteri's camp. She going for a quad lutz, it's been under-rotated. There's a lot of criticism online about the pre-rotation, which we addressed earlier. I was wondering, to me, she has a very strong muscular body. She's strong throughout her body. There's no weakness there that you can see. Do you see the jumps, holding up as she gets older? Or does it not matter because she'll be world champion and then move along? And what's
have babies.
It's hard to say because I'm surprised at Zagatova's body that she grew so much. So unless they're parenting, it's hard to predict. But she looks great right now. So and she looks like she's strong. So
isn't that funny? so I am 100% going to go with you on this one. Like when Shcherbakova was skating, Dave, we were talking about, it did not look strong. It looked perhaps, to me, a bit frail. And something about the free skate here, maybe it was just a weird mood that I was in, because that tends to be a thread in how I view someone skating. But something about it was very sad to me.
Well, she has no musicality, so that's the problem. That they don't...
So my soul was left wanting something, and then there was something sad to me. It was a disconnected performance, and it felt like, there was a very, just indulge me for a second, there was a very popular, like, North Korean clip that went around of very young children playing in an orchestra, and this adorably cute girl that was like doing like this whole like glitzy thing, and it really went viral. Everyone was like, look at this amazing girl, like it's so incredible. Then it came out that it was basically a form of child abuse, that all these children had been, like forced to do all of this and over rehearsed. And there was something inherently sad to me about Trusova's long program in the same way. I was like, I'm seeing something. You are so clearly strong. You are so clearly achieving incredible things, yet something in my soul, my heart breaks for some reason. And I feel like I'm interested to get your take, Doug, if you think this is sustainable or appropriate for a body that perhaps hasn't gone through its next stage of development, and for it to have had this kind of impact on it thus far.
Okay, that's a pretty big question. I think that the focus for her is always, as it looks like it's been obviously on the jumps. They realize they have a jumping beam here, and that's why they push her with these quads. So I think that the rest will come once she, because these kind of quads kind of hit a plateau. Mm-hmm. And I think they'll pay maybe her mindset too now is only thinking of all these jumps, and she can't think of. Maybe I'll just say she's just obsessed with the jumping. Although her spins were all level 4, there was no issues with her spins, and she got some pretty good component scores. So
no joke, but the problem with her is that she lifts her leg and there's no thought to it. There's no practice to how she lifts her limbs or any of that. And
it lacks joy, Dave. Like so many of the skaters we talk about exude the joy of skating, and I'm not getting that. So even though you accomplish something that should be so exciting to me, I'm left feeling without.
Well, she's clearly focused on the technical, and she's clearly there to do a job, and there to push the Gitava, and there in the... it's interesting because, there are different coaches in gymnastics that say that if you have 4 girls and you teach the release skill to the first one, the other 3 will get it in the group because they watch and the competitiveness and that. And you could see with Kosternaya and with Shcherbakova, it's the same. You take 3 talented girls, she has the quads, the other ones are going to get them as well, and they're coming. And I think
Kosternaya is the beautiful skater of them all.
Yeah,
to me,
I think so too.
She is beautiful. I loved watching. I watched her. I think probably 3 or 4 times, only because I just loved to see her skate. I couldn't believe that there was this a Russian girl that came from Materi that had skated with, like you were talking about, so much emotion and passion.
Shcherbakova has a lot of musicality as well. She definitely disturbs people because she is so thin, but she has kind of precocious musicality as well. But I know what you mean. Kosternaya kind of has the skating skills, and she doesn't look as frail, and she,
Yeah, and she's got big jumps. Like that double axel is huge, so there's for sure she's going to get a triple axel on that one. That's like screaming triple. That her double axel is so beautiful.
We saw you're talking about Kosternaya now?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Because we saw that exquisite clip of her doing that very difficult entry into the triple axel over the summer. But again, Doug, like what concerns me, and maybe I'm just being a fuddy-duddy, because I was like, if you have someone as gifted as Kosternaya, and Dave, I think Shcherbakova can't hit an ugly position. She just moves beautifully. But something about Kosternaya is also in the emotive performance of it, versus Shcherbakova just always looks beautiful to me.
Well, Shcherbakova hits every note. If you watch her short program, she hits every note of music. There is a problem with the choreographer at Terry's camp, so that's even her aesthetic at Terry, because I don't know if you watch at Terry, but they put thought into some of the most stupid asinine music when she did.
Yeah. I thought that was a show though, because she knew the camera was going to catch her too. Like she and Danny G were also bending their knees together at certain points. Some of it seemed like they were aware that cameras were on, but
yeah.
The other thing that is interesting that I noticed from all the three girls is they only got level 3 in their step sequences.
Interesting, yeah.
And to me, it's like when you've got these good little skaters, how come they're not getting level 4? And I thought they're not spending much time on that.
Well, Tom Z's skater got a level 2 on the footwork, and we know about Tom and training the big picture sometimes. But I will say I'm very curious to see how he has the 4 Korean ladies, and they all have the triple axels. That's going to be an exciting Korean nationals. But I wanted to touch on my favorite little dance team of Avonlea Nguyen and Vadim Kolesnik, who's clearly Igor Spielbahn's favorite team that he's working with, even though
little Madison Chalk a little bit, right?
Madison Chalk was better.
She's better.
No, of course, in the edge she could skate on an edge, but I meant like the facial aesthetic and packaging that they're putting her together as.
But my only thing I have to say, it's funny. I was talking with Andrew Laverick once, and he was talking about the differences, between the different camps, and he said that Marina and Igor worked so well is because Igor can put things together well, but he has kind of an inherent tackiness that Marina would kind of smooth over. And here with the free dance, which is so lovely, but he uses Imagine Dragons, and then they switch to the music that Olivia Zach Donahue's girlfriend used, from Spain, 2 years ago, that everyone is now using by Naughty, the Circles piece. And the two pieces don't go together at all. There's no real reason for this, and it just looks very old-fashioned 80s. Let's stick two things together. But I was wondering, Doug, do you see them? To me, we've had so many teams from the DC area, and none of them seem to have any skating skills. And there's quantity but no quality. I mean, is this the American team that you see moving up? I mean,
the total future. They're like the Torval and Dean of their era.
Okay.
Like they're that good. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not a dance. I have a dance background, meaning like I just dance competitor. But my point is that it's just skating. They have skating skills that are extraordinary. And then in skating, you always look for like the well-matched, skaters. And these two are the best match. Like their bodies are fabulous. Like I think Tess and Scott are well matched, but I think these guys are better matched than Scott and Tessa because he's got the height. I mean, they really have huge potential.
She reminds me a bit of Jamie Silverstein with her free leg and how she could, express music, especially in the free dance. The short looked like they have, the tango looked a little bit complex for them. I wrote that it needed more precision. They need to skate a little bit bigger, but you just see that they have everything moving in the right direction with this team. So I'm excited to see.
And Igor's interest, sorry, Doug. Igor's interest in them seemed to surpass just like general promotion of your own skaters. You know what I mean? Like it was very clear. It's like we got one here. We got something real special here.
Right, and then you have to think too for Igor. It's like he's lost some teams. It's like Mary Fres, Patrice, and Roman are the flavor of the month now in dance. So it's like he was reigned for 10 years or whatever. So now he's got to try to rebuild himself. So I think he's also probably putting every extra bit of time and effort into them to make them good again because he knows this team could take him back to the top.
Yeah, what do you see with Marie France and Patrice? What do they have all three American teams that are projected to make the world team. Do you think that's sustainable? And we haven't seen Madison Chalk. It's debatable whether they'll be on the Grand Prix because they've been injured. But, what do you see happening in American Ice Dance with all three in Montreal?
I don't know enough about – to be honest, I don't know enough about what's going on there to really cast an opinion. But I just can't get over that they took all three of them. I just think that – you want to usually leave somebody back at home so you can say, oh, we got to get better than them, or we got to push them. And I'm shocked. So I don't know what to say.
And I know you sent me a text that you didn't like it, but in person, I loved Deanna and Nate's Whitney Houston. I thought that it worked well because it shows off Deanna really well, and she's really into the music. And though it's an old-fashioned, obviously, piece from 26 years ago, there was something about it that worked in person. I don't know if it came across on video. Of course, though, he missed the lift on the music at the big point of the program, which is completely unforgivable. So she was ticked, which was the best thing, is that, I mean, I don't know if you've ever watched Jim Peterson when his teams are skating. You really see it in person, and there's like a rod that's up. I mean, he looks uptight.
At pair skating, I think I'm of the Russian mindset, that you have to have really strong, well-orchestrated music, and skating to Whitney Houston doesn't do it to me for a pair. And it's nothing against Nate and, Deanna. It's not against them. I just don't think it's pair skating music. So.
Well, I thought that it added something to a team that's still growing. I have to say, like, even in the spin, she was working her arm and doing different things, and the lifts were beautiful. The one thing is that when you watch the Russians do their lifts, sometimes they don't even cover a third of the ice. Tarasova and Morozov, when you watch them, some of their lifts don't even go from blue line to blue line, on the ice surface. And
from Durex logo to Durex logo, they just really weren't going there.
Yeah.
Okay. And they came out short.
Nate, it was so funny is that my boyfriend saw Nate and he goes, he's very straight for figure skating. And he really is, 2 arms and 2 legs. I mean, he is just a box. Guy. Yeah, big guy. But, it was...
He's not very tall, though.
Not very tall, but built like a shit brick house. Like the male to Demisheva, he is just built. So interesting to see, them in person. I think that they could move ahead of Tara and Danny this year if they perform well.
How did you find their speed, Dave? I think seeing all of those pairs in person at Nationals, I was like, I can't help but feel like what's really going to determine Nationals placement is speed, because we have several slower, Tim and Ashley also were surprisingly slow. I mean, you knew they were slow sometimes from the video, but you never really know until you're there. And I was like, oh, it's much slower.
So
I think whoever increases speed will be
outside
impressive.
of the program. It was faster than in the program, like in the warm up, and even seeing Deanna skate individually. But when they actually skated the program, it looked like they had some concern about some of the elements in the beginning, and it did not take off in the same kind of way. So
that it wasn't an ability then that was slowing them down as much as it was just situational, perhaps.
They looked tense.
You think they have
the
speed, they just didn't apply it.
Look, the jumps were clearly, not. The jumps were concerned that it was.
To me, to judge a good pair team, it's side by side jumps, and then it's speed. Because if they can do the side-by-side jumps, and they have the skating skills then to do all the pair elements, usually, okay, and then speed wins. Like you think of like Gordieva and Grinkov, you think of even Aliona and Bruno, like they all have tremendous speed. Even the little Chinese team, they have speed. They have an extra gear that puts them, at the top of the podium because they have speed.
The one thing I noticed here is that Deanna is usually the one, if someone's going to miss the jumps, it's usually her. She landed all 3 of her jumps at Mid-Atlantics. It was Nate that had problems with the jumps. They landed both throws. They missed one in the short, but they landed both in the long. I thought that the one thing is that you could tell that Jim is ticked as anything about the whole Tara and Danny situation with Delilah and Mitch Moyer, and even though he gave a nice quote in the press release, you could tell he's putting extra emphasis in Deanna and Nate, and extra time and training.
It's only going to make good for Nate and Deanna. They're gonna benefit.
Yeah. So
Jim think like whenever you have where you've had 2 good pairs in your same rink, and then the other one leaves, the other team that's left at home is so happy because they're going to get all the attention.
Yeah.
They're going to get that extra push.
I think there may be some of that going on. It looks like, I mean, they're getting that extra attention, and it seems to be. And Jim is a determined guy, so that's.
Yeah, as long as, and unfortunately, they're both more mature skaters because of their age and their life experiences and things like that. That you hope that then the pressure of needing to do that for the coach. Because now you get to nationals and you're going to want to pull some extra weight for them as well as for you. But you think they probably have enough perspective to hope that they can just tunnel vision it and just do as best they can and not let that be an added pressure that they have to beat the team that left.
Well, Deanna could be skating in adult nationals with me and Michael Rudke.
Right.
So I think that she came back for herself, and that's why she's there. I don't think she's worried about Jim. He'll be fine.
Exactly.
So
and she doesn't skate like old. She still skates youthful. She's still got her knees. She looks great.
Yeah.
And every time I see her, she's better.
Yeah.
She's noticeably better every time. Like even like you were talking about this skate at Mid Atlantics. She definitely. You want to watch her now.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was like you're looking at him, then you're looking at her. Now you want to watch her.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing because I think that the lady should be the feature in the pair team.
Yeah.
And you should always be showcasing the lady, and here she is, and now she's becoming the star of the team.
Yeah.
And it should be like that.
So before we let you go, Doug, I wanted to ask you. Are we going to have a fake quad from Jason Brown in the free skate this year? They've toyed with it in the past where we've done the toe, the sow, the everything. He, with the +5 GOE, like we've seen, if he can do 2 clean triple axles, I really think he could medal on the Grand Prix this year, with how inconsistent some of the men are. So what is your prediction on the Jason front?
Well, I didn't get to see him skate because the day I was there was the day he left for Grant and Carolyn's wedding. So I didn't get to see him skate because to me, when I see people skate, I even in 10 minutes you get a vibe, you get a feeling. It's like I just knew, like when I saw Evgenia, she was ready. I saw Steven Gogolev, he had just taken his skating to a new level. Even Conrad Orzol, he was practicing better. Joseph Fenn was practicing better. The person that was the fastest on the ice was Gabby Daleman at the critical the day I was there, and she was looking like she's got a great new long program, and she was skating really well. And I saw her she came to our camp too for a few days, and she was doing ginormous triple lefts, triple toes. We all saw the triple toe for a few years. Well, now she's got a triple lutz, triple toe. That's huge. So hopefully that transcends into a good year for her. But to get back to Jason, your question that I'm evading.
You said that Gabby Daleman had a good long program. First of all,
I was like, did she change it?
Yeah, I don't think she changed it. And I heard that she wiped out on the performance in your show. Doug's being very Canadian because we had a friend that was at that camp that gave a story that her.
Oh no! I'm not talking about her performance in our little show. Oh no! That was nothing short of a disaster. But, however, no, her long program for competition.
We saw that too, and that was not my favorite.
Samson and Delilah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More like Samson and Delilah Stappenfeld. That's what that looked like.
Okay. But when you see it in life and you see her train it, and it's a different thing. But yes, I don't want to. I'm going to circle back to Jason, and the only thing I know about Jason is that perhaps I heard the word he's delicate. Okay. So that might mean he's a little injury prone. So I don't know. But again, until I see him skate, I really can't say anything.
We have heard that the free skate is apparently stunning. So I'm waiting for it because I've grown tired of the Roheen style being pushed onto Jason. I'm curious of what Jason will look like without Roheen.
Like Evgenia, what a new look can really provide a skater.
And how did the hair come about? What is the real story on the hair, Doug Hall?
Oh, thank God. It looks so much better.
Yeah.
It's great. No, I heard there was no issue when Brian said, you should get your hair cut. He went, okay.
Because Corey liked the hair. That was the thing, is that Corey was definitely behind the hair. Yeah, it needed to happen. So.
And you know what? This is just such a silly, but I keep forgetting, like, these skaters, even though they constantly talk about how much they've grown and how much they've learned, like, they're still very much on a path of just finding out who they are as people, let alone as skaters. And I follow Jason, obviously, on Instagram, and I've seen a change in his social media persona. I think he thinks he looks good now. But not that he doesn't. I'm saying I think he's taking pride in that he is kind of in a new phase, and I kind of dig it, and I'm intrigued what maybe a newfound adult-style confidence can give him on the ice as well.
Right, and I know Brian said that he was very helpful with getting Evgenia settled. Her and her mom settled in Toronto, and they've spent a lot of time together, and they become real close training mates. So who knows how that will transcend into Jason's skating. So we'll see. Yeah. So I'm going to try to get up there in October sometime. So hopefully that I will see him skate.
Yeah. Well, we look forward to chatting with you about skating throughout the year, and as always, want to remind you to get in touch with your inner Sandra Bezic, get your little hip swiggle going on, hold an edge. And
I call it Sandra Bezic.
Sandra Bezic, hold an edge.
Because she's so chic.
Yes.
Yes, she's great. Yeah. So anyway, well, yes, it's been great talking to you two gents as well.
Yes, we'll get our Sandra Bezic.
And yeah, we'll stay in touch, and maybe I'll see you again on another broadcast.
Yes, we're going to hold you to that. Hold an edge and look sexy, everyone. Bye.